So wait.
You know what I would rather be doing right now?
Yes, just
Playing my PS5.
I like J-Mart. I'm going to have to go to J-Mart.
No, you don't get a PS5. Only
Why?
I get a PS5.
I want a
You wouldn't
PS5.
even know what to do with it.
Steven, I literally am playing Horizon Zero Dawn right now.
Which is a PS4 game.
No, but it said that you can play it on PS5. It just might not have some of the things that PS4 has.
All right. Hush. Our first story.
This is not starting out well.
No, it's not at all. Welcome to That's Not Scary, the ghost podcast where we read your ghost stories. You send them in to that'snotscarypod@gmail.com. You can listen to us wherever podcasts can be found, or on the YouTube at youtube.com/That's Not Scary. We also have a Discord, which we desperately need to start tending to.
Yes.
Because we have at least one ghost story there that we should probably read at some point.
I know. We need to get on that.
And be more engaged with that.
With our
from
audience.
B. McShizzle.
All right.
So we're going to get to that. Maybe we'll get to that one next episode.
Yes.
So yeah, the Discord link is in the description below. If you have any ideas for what you guys would like to see out of our Discord, or what you'd like us to do, or any ghost games that we can play on the Twitch.
Yeah, let's do that.
We can do that too on my PS5.
Yeah.
Yeah. How was your Thanksgiving, Lacey?
Mine was good. How was yours?
It was the exact same as yours. Because we're married and we did it together.
Yeah, but I wanted to know your opinion on it.
Were there any spooky stories at the
No.
at the Thanksgiving?
No.
No?
There was cool pictures. I got to see old pictures of me.
Old pictures always remind me of ghosts, because when you look at pictures from like the 50s and 60s,
Because it's all in black and white.
and some of the people are dead in them.
So it's scary.
And also sad because it's like family.
I know, right? Steven. Goodness gracious.
Oh, man. So here we are heading into the Christmas time. And so here's an appropriately unrelated non-Christmas story from David De La Cruz.
Ooh, okay.
He says, "Hi, Stephen Lacey. I want to say that I'm a huge fan of the podcast. I never really listened to any ghost stories before this podcast, and it's great to hear all of them. I wanted to share my experience with the paranormal." Now, as an aside here, David's story here involves, I love this stuff when they send a link to like some historical story that can back up. It gives them some credibility.
Oh, I love it. Yes.
His particular story.
That's my favorite.
I know, samesies. His story has to do with some haunted train tracks.
Okay.
So, he says he was born in San Antonio, Texas, and San Antonio is home to the haunted train tracks, which, by the way, has been on an episode of Unsolved Mysteries before.
Ooh, we'll have to watch it.
Yes. Well, we're going to need the enforcer on that one, because me and him do our Unsolved Mystery streams. I'll have to ask him if it's okay that you...
I think the enforcer will let me go on his podcast.
You think so?
Yeah.
He'll probably make fun of your use of the word hella.
No.
Because he likes doing that.
Does he? Mm-hmm. He'll let me come join.
All right, so the story goes like this. I don't make sure. Sometimes like the video freezes. Okay, our video hasn't frozen. During the late 1930s, a bus was trying to cross the tracks, but stalled as there was an oncoming train. The bus driver tried to get all the kids out of the bus. Ooh, it's a school bus. Out of the bus to escape, but unfortunately, there was not enough time, and all of them died. A few weeks later, a nun who was heartbroken tried to end her life by parking on the tracks, but suddenly, her car was pushed to safety. She looked to see if there was anyone, but no one to be found, but child handprints all over her trunk. So anyone who stops on the tracks will be pushed over to safety so a train will not hit them. He says, whenever I visit my family there, we usually go and visit the train tracks, and before we pull up, we put baby powder all over the trunk and bumper area, then pull up to the tracks and put the car in neutral and wait. That is... Are these train tracks still in use?
Train tracks are resilient. Like, they're good. It's fine.
No, I'm talking about the car.
Oh.
They parked the car on the train tracks.
Right. So what are you asking? Oh, yeah. To see if it's going to get pushed away, right? And
Yeah,
you're
but-
asking if they're still in use.
Yeah, I'm asking.
I'm confused.
Are they testing to see if a ghost is going to save their lives? Are they just driving their car? Like, what's the point of no return with this train barreling down
Well, I
on them?
didn't take it that way. But
Where are these damn ghost kids?
I didn't take it that way, but yes, I guess that's the point of it.
He
She's
says,
like-
it's always an eerie experience in the fact that there aren't any streetlights. I wasn't worried about the train tracks, my love.
You were worried about the alive people
I was worried about the people waiting for the children, the ghost kids, to come.
to save them.
To save them.
Because what if they don't?
Yeah. I feel like you don't pay attention during this particular show.
I do pay attention.
So David Dela Cruz sent a link to the site explaining the story in more detail. So I'm going to visit that link right now.
Okay.
Open in Safari. Yes, please. Thank you. Okay. The ghost tracks. The ghosts of San Antonio's train tracks. This is from ghostcitytours.com.
Okay.
If you're ever in southwest Texas, you might consider driving a little further down just south of San Antonio. Near the San Juan Mission, you'll find the intersection of Via Main and Shane. It's right there on Shane Road where the haunted railroad tracks lay. This intersection, stained with tales of blood, has become a notorious urban legend for San Antonio locals. The story always revolves around a tragic school bus accident in which several students were killed. The ghosts of these children never crossed over and remain on the railroad tracks to this day. The legend has captivated people from across the country, inspiring them to make the journey to the deadly intersection to experience the paranormal activity personally. One telling of the legend takes place during the 1930s or 1940s, and according to this variation, a bus carrying students home from school was headed towards the intersection. When it came to the railroad tracks, the bus stalled out. The driver then noticed a train barely down on them, and he rushed to get the children off the bus. There wasn't enough time, and 10 of them died. There's another more detailed version. There's actually, this is like a legit story because there is from the San Antonio Express,
Like a paper.
December of, no, that can't be right. Wait a second. This says December of 1938. Okay. Sorry, that is it, 1988.
We'll have to put that on the Instagrams.
Wow, it says bus train death toll likely to go as high as 30.
Oh.
Yowza. More than a score of children meet their tragic death.
That's horrible. Oh my gosh.
So it says here, so it talks in this one about a nun. In this version, a nun was actually the driver of the bus. And a few weeks later, guilt-ridden and heartbroken, she returned to the site of the accident. She parked her car on the tracks. And then the nun began to hear small, familiar voices. Then her car began to move forward as if it was being pushed from behind. The nun's car was rolled to safety just as the train roared by. In disbelief, the nun got out of her car and began looking around, expecting to find a good Samaritan. She saw not a single soul. She looked back at her car and noticed the child-sized handprints on the back of her trunk.
Little babies.
The nun was then blessed with a newfound purpose in life, and she opened a school for orphans. She taught there till the day she died.
That had a good ending.
Yeah.
Opening the school.
So apparently, David's family is not the only people who do this baby powder experiment. It says, while there are many skeptics of this occurrence, one person who tested the legend was Brenda Pacheco. I put my car in neutral, took my foot off the pedals, and the car moved. It moved quickly towards the tracks, up over the bump and down the other side, well out of harm's way. She was so excited. She said, I got out to check the back of my car, and there were tiny handprints.
Oh.
Plain and clear, so tiny. The prints were so perfect you could see the lines of the palms and the swirls of the fingerprints. Another person, there's no pictures of it.
Oh, I was hoping she took a picture.
So another person's encounter at the railroad track says, I know many dispute the legend of the railroad ghost tracks, or track ghosts. However, I was witness to one very indisputable event there in my late teens or early 20s. I once went over in my convertible with a new parakeet in the car. The bird had begun chirping happily until we staged the vehicle for the tracks when suddenly his chirping was completely silenced. It wasn't until we left the area that he began to chirp again. Curious by her bird's reaction, she decided to try the baby powder legend out for herself. She said, I used the baby powder on my car. I had multiple small handprints, but these handprints did not belong to me as I had no children anywhere around my car previously and was extremely meticulous about the appearance of my car. When she then points out when one washes their car with dish soap, oils from hands are removed so no prints will remain.
So, like, in his story, did he ever say that he saw any handprints?
No. Let me go back to it here. There we go.
To look. And
He says when we pull over and go out and look at the trunk and we all see handprints in the baby powder. That's what he claims. I wish he would have sent a picture of the baby powder.
I know. I want to see. That's crazy. Hey, we need to go visit that.
We need to visit the ghostly train tracks.
Yeah.
In San Antonio.
I can't wait till we can start going out to different places.
So many locals have also made claims, this is still from Ghost City Tours, that you can hear the rumbling sounds of a train nearing, the steam whistle howling, and the screeching of wheels as if the train is grinding to a halt. But nothing ever appears, nothing is there at all, except for the haunting chill of the night. A popular story locals will tell you occurred not long after the horrific crash. It involves a woman who was driving down Shane Road late one night. As she approached the railroad crossing, she saw a little girl standing all alone on the side of the road. She immediately stopped, pulled over, and offered the girl a ride home. Once they arrived at the girl's house, the child was hesitant to leave the vehicle and head inside. The woman assumed that the girl must have run away from home after a fight with her parents, so she told the girl that she would speak to her mother. When the woman got out of her car, she looked back to give the girl a reassuring smile, but the girl had vanished. The woman quickly reopened her car door, but no one was there. However, the seatbelt was still fastened. Another eerie account, which happened more recently, took place one weekend when a girl and a couple of friends made the trip to San Antonio to see the haunted railroad tracks. The girl took numerous pictures and emailed them to her mother. The mother was in shock to discover that in one of the photos there appeared to be a ghost of a little girl holding onto her teddy bear. And they have the picture here.
Okay.
Maybe I'll put
so
it in
you
the
have
thumbnail,
to put it in
or
there.
I'll put it on our Discord, our Instagram also.
Yes.
All right. So we'll do that. Let's see if there are any other. Let's see here. It says, yeah, it gives you everything here.
So we'll go there. Check it out.
Okay. So
That'd be so cool.
So this one, the newspaper. That's funny. It says San Antonio Express. Maybe it was. So it says, it's possible. Oh, it says, there are no records of any of the accidents ever occurring on the railroad tracks in San Antonio. Maybe that newspaper thing was fake. It says, some believe the legend was inspired by another fatal accident that happened on December 1st, 1938, far away in Salt Lake City, Utah. The city was dealing with blizzard conditions, and a school bus carrying over 20 students was attempting to bring the kids home safe when the bus stalled out on the railroad tracks just as a 50-car freight train came hurling their way. The aftermath was grisly, with every soul in the bus left dead.
So in that article, it's saying like all this stuff about it, and then they're like, well, it might not be.
I don't know what the deal with this is. Maybe the San Antonio Express one is talking about the Salt Lake City. Okay. So the San Antonio Express newspaper is reporting on the Utah story. Mm-hmm. So that's what this is from.
Oh, I see.
And then maybe some people saw this and like me didn't read the whole thing, was like, wow, this happened here in San Antonio.
Oh, okay.
And then, like legends just grow. So,
but how does it explain the handprints?
Nothing can explain the handprints.
Okay. See?
So there you go.
So there's something.
I'm waiting. I want to see some of those handprints though, man. If anybody's in San Antonio.
I know.
Try it out. But I don't know. You find out what the schedule for the train is first. I'm not gonna be telling anybody
to go
they need to go
on the tracks and
park their car.
Yeah, that's dangerous.
Like David and his family here.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. But if you do,
take pixtures.
Take pictures.
And then send them to that's not scary pod at gmail.com.
Exactly.
All right.
Who's next?
That's me. And I do.
Did you send us a story?
No, I'm reading next. Okay, so listen.
This one doesn't.
This one doesn't have a name.
Okay, this was an anonymous tale.
Yeah, so I don't know.
An anonymous
But it
dog
says,
walker.
Dear Steve and Lacey, I write to you both to tell you of a paranormal experience I had when walking my dog. I always walk my dog at night due to her being quite hyperactive. She would keep the whole street I live on awake with incessant barking if she didn't get her nightly walk. So on one of my dog's many nightly walks, I decided to take her on a different route as she has been on the similar route for a while. So a change of pace might help calm her down, or so I thought. We walk past an old playground, and this is where things get weird. My dog starts to whimper and hide behind my legs. This is really uncharacteristic behavior for her. The weather suddenly changed too, went from being somewhat tolerable cold to being ice cold. I could see my own breath with every breath I took, and I got goosebumps, which was odd because I hardly ever experienced them. I look around the park, and to my horror, I see a small figure by the slide. My dog at this point was trembling so much I could feel her digging deep into the back of my legs as if she's trying to bury herself in and get even more security. I bent down to give her a few pets and reassure her everything's going to be okay. I turn back to the slide and there's nothing. At this point, my dog is starting to snarl, and it's then I felt a harsh tug on the bottom of my coat. Looking down, heartbeat already pounding through my mouth, I see a small child. Grin on his face and a cold, dead stare. I jump backwards, tripping over my dog into the street, still holding onto her lead. She is in full defense mode, looking like she'd bite anything that moved in her direction. I slowly got back to my feet and let the dog's lead extend as far as it could. She bolts into the play area like a bat out of hell. After what felt like a few minutes of eternity, I hear a yelp and she bolts back again, scared. I pick up my dog and I ran home as fast as I could. We haven't walked that way since, and I avoid going anywhere near it, even during the day.
Ew.
That's super scary.
That is really scary.
Like a little kid.
I know.
I want to know, though, so when he sees the little kid just staring and then he falls back and trips, did he just disappear?
I'm assuming that's the case.
Like he looks back and then he's gone?
Yeah, I'm assuming that's probably the case.
That would be the scariest. I would be traumatized from that. Like a little kid, like grinning.
Yeah. But
Like I think the grinning part is like, yeah.
Yeah, Bama does weird stuff like that.
I know. And you're like, well, why are you doing that? You're freaking me out.
Yeah, exactly. I don't even like when my own kid does it, let alone some other.
And then my dog's acting crazy. Like
well,
that's
okay. If that dog is anything like Gypsy back there.
Like that guy.
I know, look.
Oh, you can't even see her.
Look. Just
sleeping.
Teeping. Oh my gosh. That was a good one though. That was creepy.
That was a really good one.
That was creepy.
Yeah.
All right, so we have one now from the great state of Kentucky. From Mason Rainwater, which is a great name, by the way.
Yes, that is a great name.
He's got 2 stories to share with us.
Okay.
He says the first one is firsthand, so this is Mason's own recounting.
Okay.
So it took place when I was younger, so I'll do my best. And the second is something my mom experienced last year, so it'll just be me recounting what she told me and how it made her feel. So here we go. For the first few years of my life, up until I think 2001, he was born in 96, my family of 4, mom, dad, sister, and me, lived with a woman who I always just referred to as my Nan. I don't think there's ever been real relation there, but we were family nonetheless. So Mason never said, Mom, who is Nan?
Well, there's always like, oh, that's my aunt, but then it's like a family friend or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's probably what it is.
That could be. Says she and her family own this large house, 2 stories with a fully furnished basement. It was basically like its own little apartment, and that's where we lived. Her family lived upstairs. My sister is 8 years older than me, so at the time she was always off to school. And my dad has been a semi-truck driver for as long as I've been alive, and then some, so he's always gone throughout the weekdays. Young Mason had his mom around, and his nan, and her family, but there would be a lot of time when they'd hang out together, leaving me on my own. The layout of our living space had a staircase that led upstairs, ending in our living room, and it was right outside the room that I shared with my parents. When I'd be hanging out alone, playing with wrestling toys, or just chilling awake before my parents got up, I'd always go out to the room to that little spot and sit on the stairs. Inevitably, I'd always be joined by a friend I had, another young boy. Now time for some clarifications. As mentioned, I only have one sibling, my sister. On top of that, my nan's family had absolutely no children of my age. It was just adults all around. I also hadn't started school, and I didn't have any of my own little friends or playmates yet. It was just me. And when alone, this kid. I can see him clear as day in my mind now. And while I can't remember anything we'd really do or say exactly, I remember talking to him and him responding. The oddest part about him that I noticed at the time was that he was blue. Not Blue Man Group blue, just blue, like what you imagine someone who's a really, really cold being. Like you drain the color out of a normal person blue. Being little, things like that didn't necessarily strike me as odd, but they were different enough that I'd associate him with things I was familiar with, so I called him Skeeter from the cartoon Doug, and he was cool with it.
That's great. I love that.
I had a blue friend named Skeeter to play with and talk to at the bottom of the stairs. It was a rad life for a 3 to 5 year old. Fast forward to around 2017. For some reason, my parents and I are reminiscing on back when we lived with my nan. I, chuckling to myself, bring up my friend Skeeter. I said, "Do you guys remember Skeeter?" This had been something that hadn't crossed my mind since back when I was little, so at the time I just thought I had been a peculiar little kid, and this was surely something I had went about as kids, you know. My parents just looked at me confused. So I started going into detail, remembering all about Skeeter and hanging out at the base of those stairs and always talking to him, my little blue friend and me. My parents are fabricators. They don't even really have great senses of humor. They just are really straight shooters. They looked at me with what I can only describe as horror. I'd never mentioned Skeeter when I was little, and I hadn't until that moment. But what shook them even more, and me when hearing, was something they had always kept from me. Before my nan bought that house, there was a prior family who lived there who had a son about my age at the time I lived there. One day, the son had grabbed the father's shotgun from his bedroom and went down to the stairs to play. He accidentally shot himself in the head, killing him instantly. And to this day, I can still see Skeeter clearly in my head, my little blue friend.
Oh, man. That one's shocking.
That one gave me like the chills, man.
That one didn't see that heading there.
Little Skeeter.
That is so sad.
Hanging out.
But then he at least had a little play friend.
I know.
Oh.
That was a grim one.
Like, could you imagine his parents being like, oh, because they know like what had happened in the house, and then you like, as your kid is telling you the story of their like playmate.
I know.
Like, what the heck?
Like Skeeter. Oof.
That's crazy.
I wonder, like, I want them to find out. Who was this? This is Mason. I wanted Mason to find out, like what that kid's name was. I want him to see if we can get like a picture of him or something.
I know, but he named him Skeeter, and the kid was just cool with it. He was he's like, all right, I'll go with it. Oh,
I know, it's a sad one.
I want to know, like, did he just like stop playing with him? He just stopped coming around.
Maybe you started going to school and...
Oh, yeah, because that's when you go to school.
Yeah,
and then you just forget. But, like, wouldn't you think, oh, like, where's my friend at?
I don't know. I mean, when you're that young, like, sometimes it just sort of...
You just forget. Yeah. Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
All right, our next one is from Eric Luna, who you might remember from 2 episodes ago. He says, thanks for reading my story, The Hooded Intruder, during the Benoit House episode, just to clear some stuff up. I didn't tell my cousin, because I didn't want to freak him out. So this is the one he was in the same room as his cousin.
I read that one.
And he saw like a hooded figure over him.
Yeah.
And then he looked over and it was over his cousin too.
Right. And then they were going back to California, or they were going back to the States.
And they didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
We're like, why didn't you just turn to him and say, hey, who was that guy?
Right.
You know? So anyways, he's writing back saying, just to clear some stuff up, I didn't tell my cousin because I didn't want to freak him out. Also, we were not smoking cigarettes. Haha. They're smoking something else.
Oh, goodness.
So he says, anyway, here's another story for you guys that happened to my ex-girlfriend, but I experienced something as well. Hope you enjoy it. My ex-girlfriend had moved out of her uncle's house and needed a place to stay. My mom was adamant about not letting her stay at our house, so we had to look around to see where my ex could stay. She ended up staying a couple of blocks down the street from my house at a mutual friend's. The friend's name was Cassie, and she told my ex that she could stay over as long as she wanted. Things started off okay, but eventually my ex started having weird nightmares. One day she came over to my house and told me she couldn't stay at Cassie's house anymore. I asked why, and then she told me what she had seen. While staying over at Cassie's house, my ex would sleep in Cassie's room. Cassie would sleep in her bed and my ex slept on the floor on an inflated mattress. What happened next scared the crap out of my ex. One day, she woke up in the middle of the night because she thought she heard a dog scratching the door next to Cassie's room, or to the door of Cassie's room. She stood up in bed and looked over to the door. She saw Cassie standing in front of the door, and she was swiping at it. My ex said she called out to Cassie to get back into bed because it was late. At that moment, the girl who was standing by the door turned, and my ex saw that she didn't have a face. My ex screamed and turned around. Cassie shot up from her bed and asked what was wrong. My ex then realized she was facing Cassie. She then turned back to the door and saw that the person who was standing by that door was gone. After that, my ex started looking for another place, but had to stay a couple more days at Cassie's house. So far, this is all coming from what my ex told me. This was close to Halloween, which turned out to be the wedding anniversary for Cassie's parents. They ended up throwing a party on Halloween, so they invited me over. While at the party, Cassie invited my ex and myself to hang out inside the house. Cassie's parents had told us that no one was allowed inside the house besides us. We checked upstairs and saw that we were the only ones inside. We were hanging out in the kitchen drinking some beers when out of nowhere a refrigerator magnet came flying towards us. It legit almost hit me in the head. I asked Cassie, what the hell was that? We picked it up and just stared at each other. We checked the restroom downstairs. We checked all around the house and we were the only people there. I remember walking towards the door to see if anyone had opened it. But when I almost reached the doorknob, I heard footsteps running up the stairs, up towards Cassie's room. There was absolutely no one upstairs. I told my ex and Cassie what happened, and we couldn't believe it. We ended up going outside to the party, not wanting to mess around with whatever it was that was going on inside. The very next day, my ex moved out and said she never wanted to go back to that house. I agreed. We never stepped foot in that house again. Hope you enjoyed the story. So, like,
that was a good one.
Okay, but hold on a second. Like, why wasn't Cassie clued into any of the stuff that was going on in her house?
I don't know. Did she ask, like, did she have experiences too? Like, that's what I want to know. If Cassie had, like, stuff
right.
too.
Like, you have this friend, you go to her house, and, like, you're there, all this crazy stuff happens. Like, does it only happen
when she's there, or does it happen when, like, I don't know, I have questions.
Like, can we get Cassie on a Zoom call and be like, can we talk about how messed up your house is and how you don't know about it? Are you
right. How are you just not, you're just living there, you have no idea.
Are you the most oblivious person on the planet to be living in this, like, super...
Does she even believe Cassie?
It's like a super haunted house.
Right.
It's like there's magnets flying around. There's a faceless... there's a faceless lady, you know that place is haunted.
You're like, you got to get out of there, man.
This ain't the cowboy from a couple weeks back who was like, hey, partner, this is the
no face.
Yeah.
Man.
You know they're bad.
That's bad.
That's bad news. We have one next. More. We have a short audio clip from a person who doesn't want to be referred to as their real name. Understandable, given that we're talking about ghosts. So in his day-to-day life, when he needs a fake name... Given that he's a fan of the other show that I do, he refers to him as Steven Larson. As Steven Larson.
Not Steve and Larson.
Maybe one day somebody will refer to themselves as Stephen Lacey. and
that would be cool.
The obvious jealousy on your face right now.
Right.
You know.
Because that's ridiculous.
Wow. That somebody out there has our names.
Right.
But not yours.
Exactly.
All right, let's hear this. Let's hear this clip.
Hey there, Stephen Lacey. This is Stephen Larson. So I was freshly in foster care when I was about 13, 14 years old. And I fell asleep on the couch, and it was this big old country home. And I was none the wiser to any ghostly inhabitants that may have been there. And lo and behold, I wake up at about 2 a.m, and I was facing the back of the couch. I roll over and look up, and there's about a 7-foot tall silhouette of a man wearing a hat and basically a trench coat. Basically, I don't know, it was mostly silhouette. So I rolled back over, faced the back of the couch, and kind of closed my eyes and kind of wished for it to be quick, if anything, a quick end. I wake up and thankful that I was alive, and I asked my foster mom about it, and she was like, "Oh yeah, that's so-and-so. He's normally around that, like, abandoned windmill out, like, on the land." And I was all like, "Huh, well, good to know. Spooky foster home." Alrighty, thank you for listening, and I hope you two enjoy your day. Goodbye.
Oh, man.
She's like, yeah, we know about him. The guy in the 7-foot tall guy in a trench coat. What?
The 7-foot tall silhouetted man with a duster and a trench coat.
Right?
Yeah, it's
like,
all
that's
good.
Normal.
Yeah, welcome to your new foster home, kid.
Exactly.
Hope you're cool with a new roommate.
Right?
A 7-footer, a legit power forward.
And she was like, normal, like that's all normal.
Just doing the dishes. Oh yeah, that's Henry. What?
Like what? Like, I don't want to live here now.
Yeah, no,
man. I'm
good. I'll say this though, he did what I would have done.
And just turn back around.
Just try to be like, nope.
Just go back to sleep.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Confront a 7-foot silhouette?
I know, I don't know.
You don't.
I'd probably just be staring at it until it.
No touching your eye.
Until it goes away.
I know.
I would just be like staring at it. Like I couldn't take my eyes off of it because what if I have to like move or something?
Well, that's what I did when I saw Rosada the ghost.
Yeah, you just have to keep looking.
I was just staring because I didn't really know what it was. But if I was like if I was in here by myself and you weren't here and Gypsy wasn't here,
you'd just roll over.
Yeah, I looked over here and I saw a silhouette. I don't know what I'd do.
You'd keep staring at it.
I'd go like this.
No, you wouldn't. You'd have to keep staring at it because what if it moves?
Well, I'm thinking that he's like moving like he's just sort of staring at me like, with the normal movements of a person staring at me would have. And I'd be like...
And then you're just going to turn around?
Yeah, I'd be like...
You gotta go?
I'd like get my webcam and turn it towards me like, okay. I don't know what I'd do. That's terrifying. I'd definitely soil myself.
Yes.
Sure. That's a certainty.
I would, and I'd probably not scream because, like, I don't scream when I'm scared.
Yeah, I would freeze.
I would just freeze.
I would freeze. That's what I've learned in life is, like, when there's trouble, I freeze.
I know.
I'm like, maybe it'll just go away.
If I stare at it long enough.
Like, it's tax season. If I just sit here and do nothing.
It will go away.
Maybe it'll just go away. They'll just pay themselves somehow.
That's why they never get paid.
That's why we're getting all those notices.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Maybe I should take that over.
Do you hear a ghostly growling sound in here from a disgruntled dog that wants us to go to sleep because she's bossy?
She is bossy.
All right. Well, maybe we'll do that.
All right. Well,
thanks everybody for your stories.
Thanks for submitting everything. I love hearing the stories. I like the audio clips. That's really cool. Mm-hmm. You can send them to that'snotscarypod@gmail.com.
Yeah. And thanks everybody. And follow us on Instagram at, what is it? That's Not Scary Pod?
That's Not Scary Pod. And yeah.
That's it. Thanks for watching or listening.
Rate us on iTunes.
Yes, leave us a rating. Let's see if there's any. Let's see if we got any of those.
There's a couple good ones.
There's some good ones there?
Yeah.
All right, let's see here. That's not it. That's not scary, a ghost podcast. Here we are. All right. Sorry, I know I'm like a tad bit distracted in this episode because Gypsy's supposed to have a freaking
cone on her head, but we took it
we're
off.
up to 29 ratings. We're still at a 5-star rating.
So nobody's said we're.
It says
not
here
good.
from Jordan, let the spooky in. I know Steve from a bunch of other things, but I've always loved the stuff he did with Lacey. This one is a really fun take on their Ask Us idea, but with a spooky twist. 114% would recommend to all the living and unliving.
Yay! I like that too.
Urka says very spoopy. I think maybe Urka means spooky, but maybe that's just her way or his way of saying spooky is spoopy. Says, I love the stories you both share. This got me into other podcasts. I enjoy listening to you both during my commute.
Yay!
That's very nice.
That is very nice.
And there we go. Those are the 2 new reviews. So we'll read your reviews here on the show.
Yeah, give you a shout out.
Because Gypsy's not supposed to touch her eye. That's why I'm
We're
upset.
back to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why, I've been distracted this episode because I keep on looking over.
Well,
to make
hopefully
sure she doesn't
next
scratch her eye.
episode she'll be all healed and won't.
She's supposed
you
to
won't
have a
to worry
cone on her
about
head,
that.
but like her ear's all messed up now too. So.
And then he just obsesses. So
It's a whole thing. that
It's
I
a
have to deal
thing.
with.
all right, everyone. Well, thank you, and I hope you enjoyed it.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.